I was really having trouble with my faith, and I was trying to sort it out. And trust me, I was trying to hang on to it. A lot of people get the idea that, oh, you just booted God because you're mad at him. I was struggling with trying to hang on to it, and it was becoming increasingly difficult, and areas of my faith were becoming problematic. And so I remember going out, I think I want to go somewhere by myself. I was still married at the time, and I just told my wife, she knew I was dealing with all this. I said, I got to get somewhere. I got to see some things that are older and bigger than me. And in my mind, I wanted to go see the redwood trees, the sequoia trees, the Pacific Ocean. I just needed to breathe a little bit. And I went out there and I rented a car, and I remember staying 2 nights in this area of Los Angeles that was almost exclusively Oriental. Maybe it was Chinatown, I don't know what it was called, but I remember going into markets and stores and restaurants and seeing people from other cultures, spoke other languages. And I remember thinking, if my theology is correct, these people are all lost, unless they've converted to Christianity. And I remember thinking, that can't be right, this doesn't make sense. You end up with the faith that you're born into. You adopt the faith of the culture in which you live. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't have a person on the planet that I could go to and say, you've experienced this, tell me what it's like. What do I do now? Who's going to be my people? Where do I go? What do I do? My wife remained a believer. Over the course of a few years, that became increasingly problematic. So I left that marriage about 3 years ago. And during the process, I've got 3 kids. They were all raised and married by the time I went through this. So they were all through on their own. It was just me and my wife in my house, and me going through this tumultuous time of life. I've been a pastor up until that time, and then in 2009 I was fired from my last church gig because I was too independent. Imagine that, me, independent, come on. And so after that, I got in the insurance business, and that's how I was making my living. And that was going fine, all that was fine. But I was having trouble connecting with anyone. My wife and I were growing further apart because she remained a Christian and kind of doubled down. And then my 2 adult daughters were married to men. They're still married to men, but these men were interns at the church we were in, and they were very influenced by this manipulative leader of the church. There's a little bit of resentment is not the word, regret is not the word, but still a twinge of sadness that the good years of my life were given to this thing that turned out to be false. And so a few years ago, yes.
Did you get any help from Recovering from Religion or from the Clergy Project as you went through this process?
Yes. Both fine organizations. In fact, I'm glad you asked that, actually. I usually share that, somehow missed it. One of the first connections I made was the Clergy Project. I found them online, and I reached out to them and became a member of that, and then became a board member of that. Up until just a few months ago, when I got the diagnosis, I resigned from that position. But I remained very involved with them. Talked with like Dan Barker and Jerry DeWitt, people like that. In fact, I just interviewed with Dan Barker's show last couple weeks ago. Yeah, great guy. So those were the first people I found that not only had been believers and now were atheists, but had been clergy. And now, so they did amazing work. Those of you who don't know what the Clergy Project is, it's an online forum for clergy, either present, great, and Recovering from Religion does incredible work. They get calls daily from people trying to sort out their life after this. Guys, this is traumatic shit for a lot of people. And it really doesn't need to be. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the issue it is. But this is the world we live in, so we got to help one another. Yes?
I'm just wondering if you have any handle on approximately, because it would seem to me to be somewhat common, I have no way of knowing, because most clergy are quite educated people, well-read, and maybe when they were younger they believed, but by middle age and doing...
It's becoming more common. I think a caveat to what you're saying is important to note, in that there's so many different kinds of clergy out there. If I were, see, for me, I never went to seminary. I wasn't formally trained as a clergy. I was just called by God. And that's all you need in my tribe. So you're called by God. I was licensed, ordained, all the stuff. I did the marrying, the burying, all the stuff. But there was no formal education, so I didn't get an MDiv or anything like that. The people who go that route and go into seminary and get masters of divinity, many of them are atheists when they come out. But sometimes they go ahead and get their job and they just get stuck in it. But if you get too much education, yeah, you'll have too many questions. But a lot of clergy out there are not formally trained. That was my first introduction to people like-minded, and then I gradually found other people and podcasts, and now there's a plethora of information out there, and it's becoming more and more, there's more and more resources for people who are losing their faith to find connection with community groups like this, and we've got a vibrant ex-Christian atheist group in Nashville. A lot of us former clergy, but just a lot of people that, and a lot that who are not even out to their families. You know, there's a lot of people that are in that place where they feel like if they let the wrong people know or too many people know, it's going to cost them a lot, and so they just don't. Yes.
When you were a devout Christian, did you ever come across someone who tried to talk to you and convince you that this is all just a fairy tale or a belief system? And if that did happen, how did you react to them? And the reason I ask this is because I've had some conversations with some people that are just, you know, they're just so brainwashed you can't even talk to them. And it's like talking to a wall. So I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if you had that experience, and how did you react to the person that was trying to convince you, if that ever happened to you?
I don't recall a specific event like that over my years. I mean, the thing that happens with most Christians is they live in such a bubble, in such an echo chamber, that they never encounter people that don't think they're the way they think. Everyone that they live around and work around thinks like they do. And if I had encountered that, I would have most likely discounted that person as someone who was being deceived by the devil or just confused or lost. And so I wouldn't have been one that would have had an intelligent conversation. I wasn't ready for that conversation to happen.
That's what I was wondering, because sometimes biology does.
You can segment different parts of your mind to think different things and believe different things. I mean, I know of surgeons who believe that Jesus rose from the dead. I don't understand that. But you can be really smart in one part of your brain and just be dumb as a rock in the other part. And I think the evidence shows that. We can, cognitive dissonance, we can just separate all the parts out. So I think if you really want to believe a certain thing, you'll just go down that path and you'll set aside the parts that don't make sense to you.
You can collect fossils off of the tops of mountains.
I found out last night that Gehrig is 1,000 years old.
Ha!
Guy on the show was on called in and said, yeah, there's people that think that. There's people that think the earth's flat. You can be smart in other areas and think a certain thing that doesn't make any sense to a rational human. So yeah, you can believe in Jesus and still be trained and smart in another area. Most of my family lives in Texas, by the way. My brother, my mother, my sister, they're very conservative Christians. My older brother is a conservative evangelical pastor in East Texas. And they all are very concerned for my soul, and they just believe that my brother believes I'm being influenced by demons. And here's a smart guy who believes that the world is occupied by angels and demons that we can't see. That there are demons in this room right now. I think there's one in this bar about
The fedora, can you tell?
Obviously, right? Otherwise, smart, intelligent people in many factors of life can buy into the notion that invisible angels are real, invisible demons are real, and if you don't watch yourself, Dave, a demon can get in. There's a portal. There's a portal. It could be that rock music. It could be anything. So that's what I mean about the idea that, and otherwise smart people can believe that, and I've had this conversation, and do you believe I'm going to hell? Do you believe that when I die as an atheist, I'm going to hell? That there's a place, an invisible something somewhere that human beings go to when they die, and they exist there somehow for a thing called eternity. That's mind-boggling to me, although I used to fucking believe it. And I used to preach it. And I used to use Bible verses to back it up. When it's a theory that unbelievers go to hell, we can talk about it. But to look you in the face and say, because you don't believe in Jesus, when you die, you're going to go to hell, they have a hard time with that. And for good reason. Because it's bullshit. Yeah, you got a question.
As a child, didn't you ever wonder why all the Chinese and the Indians in the country of India that never were exposed to Jesus, although, you know, we paid our good money for the missionaries to go over there, but all of them never knew Jesus because Jesus didn't travel in Asia like that. I'm just really,
Never thought that deeply
as
about
a
it.
child, that's what bothers me.
And it
How
should.
can they be going to hell because they never were exposed to Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just gonna jump in real quick.
I don't mind it. It's fine. I appreciate
Okay,
that.
all right.
But I don't really, I mean, I'll tell my story and weave the talk through the questions. That's fine. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. And Marie will make sure I don't leave any parts out, won't you?
No.
So we don't run out of time on that because it's important to me. So the whole the arc of my life was difficult enough without this added element. And so after the deconversion process and with my daughters cutting us out of their lives, and also they cut my wife out because she stayed married to me even as an apostate, and they were taught that they shouldn't have connection with her either. So after 5 or 6 years of that, and the heaviness of that just weighing heavier, I finally decided 3 years ago, a little bit less than 3 years ago, to reboot my life at the age of 61, I think at the time. You know, start over at the right young age of 60-something. And I left the marriage, moved into an apartment downtown Nashville. I had this epiphany, and it was real. I could take you to the spot on the beach where it happened. And I realized that I have two choices here. I can stay in the marriage and stay in something that's comfortable and predictable and safe, or I can go down this road that I don't know what it looks like, and it's uncomfortable, it's unpredictable, it's not safe, financially or any other way. Because I was devastating myself financially when I did this. And I knew which path was life. And it was the path of unpredictability and discomfort and the unsafe one. And then I realized the real epiphany I had was that life is simply nothing more than a collection of moments. Again, I just made this massive change and had a couple of years of that, and then everything again was changed. And so I made some quick drastic decisions to retire from the work I've been doing. It's becoming increasingly difficult. I have a hard time. My symptoms are, I don't know how much if you know about ALS. It's one of these things that you know is a thing, but you don't really know what it is. And you know it's kind of bad, but you don't know how bad. As an example of that, I called my son that night after the diagnosis. He lives in Manhattan. New York, not Kansas. I called him and I said, Dylan, I got to tell you something. He said, what's that, Bob? And he could tell it was in my voice. And I said, well, I got a diagnosis of ALS. And he said, oh my God, Dad. I said, yeah. said, how are you doing? And we talked a little bit about the symptoms. Oh no, first I said ALS, and he said, ALS. And I said, Lou Gehrig's disease. Oh my God, Dad. That's when it registered, you know. And we talked about the symptoms, and we hung up. And then the next day I was talking to his wife, Megan, and I said, how's Dylan doing? And she said, not good, Dave. The internet can be your best friend or your worst enemy. And so we got online and he looked at it. But the diagnosis was very conclusive, and it wasn't a question of, well, let me get a second opinion. I just, I didn't do all that shit. I just said, okay, this is it. This is what I got. Now what am I going to do with it? That was my immediate reaction. Okay, now what do I do? How do I want to continue to write this story? Because when I rebooted my life, I made a decision not to let anything write my story. Not God, not another person, not a fucking disease. I'm going to write the story. And so I retired from my work. I made a decision not to renew the lease on my apartment. I moved in with friends who insisted that I move in with them. And I started selling stuff and getting rid of stuff I'd never use again. I'll never play guitar again, so I sold it. Had a great little Martin guitar that I hated to let go. Sold my golf clubs. And so early on I started just adapting to the new reality and deciding how I wanted to live. And what I decided I wanted to do was just embrace it and talk about it, and talk about dying as an atheist, as opposed to how I formerly viewed death as a Christian, where there was eternity and this life was just a warm-up, a practice game for the real show. This was a dress rehearsal, and the real show was where you spend eternity. Well, as an atheist, I don't think that way. I don't think that way at all. I think this is it. And when we die, we're just done. And I'm okay with that. In fact, now I say to people, why is that not enough? Why is this life not amazing enough with the beautiful moments that are contained therein? Why do we think there has to be something more? And I think a lot of that is sometimes people just don't want to deal with something. They don't know what to do with something they don't understand. We don't know what's on the other side. No one's been there and come back to tell us about it, regardless of what the Bible says. It's just not been done. So there's that mysterious unknown, so we make up stories to try to explain it, right? And so that's a lot of what that is. But my point in the Dying Out Loud message, which is really about living out loud, is that it's not something to be afraid of. It's not something to be in denial of. It's just the end of this life we're living. So the dealing with the ALS, for me, was just about embracing it. We call it Dying Out Loud because why not? But my focus and the thing that I talk about on the podcast and here, places like this, is focusing on the things that I feel like I learned even before this about the moments. I talk about the moments all the time. Because they're everywhere. And you don't. The thing I want to reiterate over and over again is you just don't know they're there if you're not looking for them. And life can just happen, and it can just move so fast. It can be so full of frustration and the things that cause us anxiety or stress. And yes, we have those. We do. You have them more than me, but nonetheless, we all have to deal with life. But in the mix of that are these beautiful, unpredictable moments. And we've got to be looking for them, and we've got to seize them. And we've got to say out loud, this is a moment. Don't miss it. Don't miss it, because it's valuable, and you don't get any more like this. This one's unique. This one is precious.